Alright guys, compressor been tested, install video time. Have a crack at this, never done one before, but 35 square mil cable is going to go in from the starting battery through with a 125 amp fuse on it. A tank is actually going to sit under the wing of the bull bar on the other side. I've decided that I can get a tank that will fit in there. I've ordered it, hopefully it'll go in. You'll see later in the video as I progress, we'll put it in. And I'm going to run as a permanent fixture with air horn, all that sort of stuff in there. So yeah, let's have a look at where we're going to install the compressor and everything that's going to go in. Wiring, pulling apart the car, we'll try and get most of that in and see how we go. Alright, so you guys are lucky, I can't stick my head in there so you can't see me, but compressor is going to sit behind the drawers just in there. So I've taken the handle off the top of it already. These cables will come off as well, I'll replace those. I will be running it off a switch on the dash, so I'll be bypassing the switch on the actual compressor itself. I know, right tools are important for the job. I've got a slot cut in the boot now. Pretty small, hopefully I can get this through. I've got a big screwdriver through it. Got a cable runner here from my old job. I'm just going to lubricate this with a bit of water-based degreaser because it's slippery as. And hopefully we'll get it through the hole and I can close up this part of the job. Let's see how we go. And that was easy. Notice I've got these conduits on here. This cable's actually, it's a nice little slot to sit in here, but the conduit doesn't go in there, so the conduit will sit like that with just a little gap where these cable things hit. So the cable's all through. It's actually going to sit just underneath the fuel filter. I'll be able to put the uni chip back in its spot, conduit it, then I'll come up and I'll lug it with a 35mm lug onto this fuse box, just been bolted to the top of the relays. Probably the best spot for it really, there's not a lot of other space. Alright, we're just hooking up the switch wire from the switch. We're going to solder it, a bit of a solderer rather than a connector, and then heat shrink it. Protect it all, should be all good. Love my gas soldering iron. Soldered nice. Turn it off, don't sit on the leather seat because you've got to melt your seat. Alright, measure drill. Get this in the right spot. Pretty important to use the right stuff so because these things vibrate a fair bit. So we're going to get this in the right spot. We'll do our first hole, it'll be our marker hole. We'll hold it in place while we drill the rest. It should be all good.
And I'm adjusting it every 2 minutes. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'm not supposed to.
Right, so I've worked this one out a bit differently. I'm going to take all this cover off. I've already got my wiring in here. Got my conduit run in there for the air hose, which will go down through the hole and then we'll get to the front somehow. I'm going to put my earth return on this seat bolt here. I've filed it off. So now it's just a matter of making up the cable. This is a good cable to work with, it's weld flex. Nice and flexy, like so. I'll do 2 clips on these because they're a pretty big lug. We can reach easier than this side. Good old inox. Use it sparingly. Right guys, we're in the shed now. Going to wire this compressor up. Going to fit it all off, or most of the stuff off to it that I need to do before I put it in the car, make it a little bit easier so it's not awkward. Replacing the stock cables wherever they are with some heavier duty ones onto a 120 Anderson plug, 35mm cable. So this is the compressor with the top taken off. 6 bolts, 6 screws, and there's 4 in the base as well. So that's a miniature little tank. Does its job, I suppose. I'm going to leave all this stuff here and leave it connected. So if I do want to use it on accessories, because my switch in the car is going to be powered from ignition, because I want to run the compressor during the day, run the air horn, I'll be able to switch this on in I suppose in an emergency if I want to run it on accessories and get it up to 80 psi. So I'll leave this all connected and I'll reuse this if I may never use it, but that's the plan. So I'll replace the Nitto fitting with a direct connect 1/4 inch high temperature hose, which will come out and go off to a manifold, which we'll look at later. What I also need to do is run my wiring that's going to go from to the solenoid, so from my switch in the car via a pressure switch which I'm going to have on the manifold. 200 amp solenoid that's built into this compressor, we'll run our positive on there. What I'm also going to do off the solenoid here is I'm going to run a small fan. So I'm just going to mount this on the cargo barrier just to keep it cool. Now that is 12 volt, doesn't say what power rating it is, yeah, 380 milliamps. So that solenoid, I've put the meter across it and I've measured the resistance, so that's about a 700 milliamp draw on the solenoid, another 380 milliamp on the fan, so you're looking at about an amp. The switch in the car is about as a 3 amp switch, and the cabling is good for 5 or 6 amps. So alright, just about to do the positive cable now. Note to those who know and who don't know, different crimpers for different jobs. This is for doing uninsulated crimps from 2.5 up to, you can go to 16 if you like. I don't prefer these for 16. These ones are for insulated crimps, red, blue and yellow as per the connector. This is my bigger one, it goes up to 120mm cable. I have a smaller version of this which is much more simpler and easy to use. And I have Big Bertha, I have a 12 ton crimper as well, hydraulic, which seems to work pretty well, but it's a bit cumbersome. For this size cable, hydraulic's not necessary. Does a nice job though. Bit of grease never goes astray. On we go. So we have one compressor ready to go in the car and be wired up. I know, another fun bit. 120 amp disconnect, disconnect Anderson plug. We're going to mount this here. I'll screw this down tightly once it's all cabled, but our 35mm cables are going to come across in the back like so, like that. I don't know if you can see it, but on those cables I've put a mark, which is the top of my connector, which means that I need to put my connectors on the right way, otherwise I'll screw it up, which means I need to go on this way. So the top of this connector effectively will line up with that line there, and we'll be all good. So there we go. In place, I just need to tie these cables in nice and neatly. Get them out of the way a little bit. The seat's not going to hit them. Negative is double insulated, the positive was single insulated, so I've conduited it just to make sure, just to be safe, just to be a little bit retentive. Alright, more of the same. As we saw earlier, fuse panels mounted. We have a 125 amp slow blow in there, so any compressor startup shouldn't blow the fuse. This is bolted down with stainless steel, but with nylon nuts, because I don't want any nuts to fall into the bottom of this relay panel. Be mindful if you are going to bolt anything to the top of this relay panel, there's an awful lot of detail on the bottom of there about what fuse does what. Make sure if you do drill holes in it, don't drill holes through the information you need to know which fuses you've got in the box, because that'll screw you up. Alrighty, so what I've got now is positive from the battery, bad, out to the switch, all good. Just want to check I've got voltage, which I will have. I'll put it on volts, 12.26. Now I'm just going to check to make sure I don't have any shorts, so that's positive to earth, open circuit, that's good. Alright, don't want any earth, I knew there wouldn't be. And I'll put the fuse in there. Now I'm using, on the positive, I'm using a normal socket. Just be mindful that it is, you're on the positive, don't short it. I do have a full insulated socket set, but that's for the uninitiated. I have blown one of those sockets apart on much higher amperage than this. So I'll get the fuse, chuck it on, and then I'm going to go and check and see the voltages at the Anderson plug. These are a common fuse in a car, especially older ones. I don't know if you can see it, very thin. So remember, when you're using tools like this, your handles do swing around, you don't want any metal to touch anything. Bad idea to have metal objects on your hands. The watch is probably okay because it's on my wrist. Just going to lose my hand if I blew. Catch that one. Alright, didn't do those up too tight. We'll go and check the voltage. There you have it, guys. 12.24 volts on a previously calibrated Fluke multimeter. Alright, my light went flat. Time to install it. See if this is going to work. I could install it from the back, that'd be easier, but as soon as the camera's here, I'm going to go from the front. Man, that's a heavy compressor. I wouldn't be able to do it from the back if I had the fridge and everything in there, so this is the side we're going to have access to. So I'll set that down there on the bolts, get these other couple of cables out. Out of the way. Now I'm going to plug this in and make sure it works before I bolt it down, and then we'll bolt it down, eh? So, I've already put the fuse back in. That's good, nothing's exploded yet. Works. Do these bolts up, ratchet spanners. Happy days, they make life a lot easier. Alright, here's my head. Time to install a fan. I'll quickly put connectors on the end of each of them, but I'm going to put this fan in here. At this stage it's only going to run while the compressor's on. I may build up a delay timer for it if I think that it needs it. But at the moment we're just going to put it on and power up. So power it on when the compressor's on. It's amazing all these little extra bits and pieces that I've got in the shed that I can use for this sort of stuff. We'll go fast on this too because this will be kind of boring for most people, and I'll probably stuff it up by doing the bolts up wrong or something. I'm not as dexterous as I used to be, I can tell you right now, but this first one I think I can do. Right.
Hello!
Much easier with a helper. He's like a caged tiger, this teenager. Alright, so it's in. We'll give it a crack and see how it whirls. No one's going to hear this fan running. There we go. Just moves that little bit of air across the top of the head of the compressor because it's going to get warm. Alright, got to get this manifold mounted. So what I've decided to do, got the tank outlet with a tap on it in case the hose rubs through on the chassis or anything like that. Inlet for the compressor, pressure switch. I'm going to put a nitto fitting here. I'm not sure if I'll use it. I'm going to run a nitto fitting off here across to the back as well. I'll put one at the front, see what I feel like. There's plenty of hose on my hose to go from the back to the front to wherever, so we'll see. Knowing me, when I put the tank in, I'll probably put another fitting off it and make a nitto connection. Should be good. So the important thing about this is I want to make this nice and solid so that it mounts nicely, and I need to make sure that my hose is connected properly as well. So I'll have a crack at this, put this in here temporarily. And I need to get my measurements right. Alright, so that's the right there. Time to get in. Holes drilled. Need some gas pipe sealant on this. We need to put this on before we put the manifold on because it doesn't have a swivel housing on it. Alright, she's up. Just need to tighten up this bottom bolt. I've also put my air outlet there, ready to go for inflating the tyres at the back. I like to be a bit minimalist. I don't like to have muddy switches and panels everywhere. I have a light switch there for the lights, USB chargers, 12-volt socket, ando plug, and over on here I have another socket and a switch for the tail light. Right, so we'll delve into this hole here and have a quick look. That's how my electrical distribution is run. I've got 16 square mil coming from a buzz bar into the car. Fuses in here for fridge, outlet, lights, what have you. The grommet's actually down in here. And if you look down deep there, you can actually see the grommet where the cable's going to come through. I always silicone it up before we go and do anything silly in the bush. Let's dust in if you don't, so make sure you put a bloody dab of silicone in anything you run. But my intention was to run this up through the engine bay. I had a good look at it, and then on the inside of the guard, in the guard, it'll be fine. There's room in there for an air intake and what have you to go through, so there should be room enough for this to go through. So tank, it has arrived. Really small actually. I knew it was going to be small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outlets. One of them will be the drain. One of them will be in, one of them will be out. Maybe 2 will be out. I can't go and get any more fittings because we're in lockdown, but I've got enough here to get me through. Touch wood. Under the wing, I'll pull all that out and make sure it fits. Pretty confident it'll fit, but we'll have a crack, get it in. Alright, change of plans. Not change of plans actually, just a slightly different way of doing things. With this bottom brace on here, it's not going to fit in the gap that I want to put it in. So I'm going to nip these off here. Probably with the angle grinder, that's cheating, but I'll probably do it with the angle grinder. And then I'll actually use these plates and I'll weld these plates to the wing insert. See if I've still got it. Tank's good to go. I found a spot for it. I do need to drill a hole for the drain plug. There. So I've marked it out. Once I've drilled down the right spot, I can give it a coat of jam. I'll weld these on. We can see about getting there. I'll probably just tack it to start off with, because if I don't tack it, it'll mean that I'll bugger it up. It's important to cut these fuckers straight, because if you don't, they don't seal properly. And I don't really want to get back under here, so conduit cutters work well for this. Alright, D-Day. I'm going to turn it on from the compressor itself. Tank's now all hooked up and plumbed up. We'll see how this goes. It's a bit of a struggle to get my arm in the back there, but when it's all turned onto the car I can do it the other way anyway. So now that's up to about 70-80 psi. Alright, tank on, let's see how long it takes to charge the tank. Tank charged. Now, have a listen to this. It works! It works! Alright, compressor's all installed. It's gone well, took a little while. Grown a beard while I've done it. Isolation, hey. Thoughts? Works well with the 80 psi pressure switch that's on it from the factory. I have tried to put a 105 psi off switch on it. It does get up there, but it takes a lot longer to get from, say, 95 to 105 psi. It doesn't like that little top bit. Doesn't matter too much. I actually thought I might need that 100 psi to run the air horn, but 80 psi, it is loud. It is really loud. So I'm going to stick with the 80 for now. I might see if I can find a 90 and try that out, see how it goes, but not too fussed. Because it's a big volume air compressor, it cycles on and off when you're pumping up a tyre. 34-inch tyre, so a 285, 75, 17, from 16 to 40 psi was a minute 45. Okay, so what I've found, because it's such a high volume pump at low pressure, if I pump up 2 tyres at once, hey, we're good. So at 145, the inflation time of the actual inflation is about 7 minutes for all 4 tyres, and that's a big tyre. So it's still pretty quick. If I inflate 2 tyres at once, the compressor won't cycle on and off because it doesn't get that high pressure. It puts all air into the tyres, and the inflation time to do 4 tyres, doing 2 at a time, is 5 minutes and 15 seconds. That's pretty quick. And doing 2 tyres, I'm pretty well set up to do 2 tyres. I've got 2 outlets, I've got a split hose, easy to do. So to change over from two tyres to the next 2 tyres, it's only 30 seconds or so, isn't it? So you're under 6 minutes for inflating 4 tyres, which I'm wrapped with. So tank's in, air's in, 2 outlets, one behind the seat, one above the fridge. Compressor's in behind the seat. Happy. Got the built-in compressor I've wanted for a long time. It's noisier than the endless air I had in the old car, but it's just as quick. It's just as quick as the endless air, I think. Alright boys, have a look at this.
Wanker!